Okay, hello, and welcome to the Legal Holds on Docfinity training. My name is Federico Silva, and I work in UWIT. And with us today is Sean Whitney and Leticia Rhodes-Kaiser from UW Records Management Services. And together today, we go over all you need to know in regards to how to put records on hold and export them. This training is intended for record coordinators and record authorities of UW departments. In terms of agenda, this training will be divided into two main sections. Part 1 and 2 there will be given by Records Management Services, and it will be a summary of just what are destruction holds, their types, the process that we go over, and as well as what are your responsibilities as the record custodians of your departments. Then on 3 and 4 there, we'll be translating the concepts that we would have seen into how they are implemented in Docfinity. And I will go over all the screens that you will use, and this will be driven by some live demos. In terms of prerequisites, this is not a Docfinity 101 training, so the expectation is that you have already logged into the tool and that you know how to perform your department searches as well as view the documents on the Docfinity viewer. If this is the first time that you have seen Docfinity, I recommend that you contact the EDM team and we'll be able to provide some pointers to core materials for Docfinity training and videos. So at this point, I will hand it off to Record Management Services.
Thank you, Federico. So there are 4 different instances where placing records on a destruction or legal hold may become necessary, and we'll go over the 4 different instances one by one and give a brief overview. So the first instance would be from litigation. So the law requires the university to preserve any documents that may be relevant to a pending or reasonably anticipated lawsuit under certain circumstances, like a subpoena, for instance. Departments are required to provide records and potentially all the metadata related to these records to a requester like the Attorney General's office, for example. And then the second instance would be through public records requests. As most of you probably know, the UW is a state agency, which means by Washington state law, we're required to gather and provide all relevant records in a timely manner. In the case of an audit, we are also required to put records on hold. This applies to audits conducted by state, federal, independent auditing firms, as well as the UW internal audit team. And then last but not least, in certain cases, we may be required to put records on a destruction or legal hold as part of an investigation. What is important to note for all these 4 cases is that any document placed on a destruction or legal hold needs to be preserved, which means they may not be altered or destroyed until the hold is lifted. To give you a better idea of what the process looks like, here is the visual timeline of what a typical process looks like. I say typical because this may differ, but this starts with the notice of a hold. So as soon as your unit or department receives notification of a hold, it is really important to follow the notice's instructions by identifying and locating the relevant records and putting them on a legal hold to suspend the disposition cycle in Docfinity. So putting the documents on hold is usually the next step in this process. And then where applicable, the next step is to export these records and potentially the metadata related to these records and hand them over to the party that's requested them. And then lastly, once the case is fully resolved, this could take several years in certain instances, the hold may be lifted. So you'll see that from the moment you've placed the records on legal hold in Docfinity, they are protected from being disposed up until the moment the hold is lifted, which is represented by that top line there. For example, to explain that line a little bit better, for example, a record that has been placed on hold may have reached the end of its normal retention period during that time, but the hold is preventing the record from being disposed as long as the hold is active. And then as soon as the hold is lifted, this record enters the disposition cycle. On the flip side, a record could have several months or even years left on its normal retention period. And then in that situation, when the legal hold is lifted, the record continues to be accessible in Docfinity and will not enter the disposition cycle until the retention period has been met. You may now wonder, as the RA or RC, where do I fit into all of this and what are my responsibilities? And we've provided a couple of bullet points here to sum them up. When you receive notice of a destruction or legal hold, it is required that you contact records management services. As you'll see in Federico's demo here shortly, our office may have to create a legal case within Docfinity so you can place the relevant records on hold. It is your responsibility to search for all the relevant records in Docfinity and place them on hold. It is also your responsibility to export the records and potentially the metadata as well, so you can provide them to the requester or requesters. And then once the case has been fully resolved and you've been notified of this, we ask you to contact us at Records Management Services to lift the legal hold. And then here again, just to repeat what we've said earlier, do not alter documents that are on hold and do not keep local copies of exported documents, meaning once you have created a file with all the relevant documents, it is really important not to keep local copies of that.
Thank you, Leticia. So what I'll go over is trying to apply what we just learned into how it is implemented in Docfinity. And the main concept that Docfinity has is this thing called legal case. And this, you can think of it as a special folder in Docfinity that you can put documents in. And once they are in this special protected space. They are on hold for the purposes of disposition. They cannot be disposed. Now, don't get confused, because you will see the term legal case in the software in many places, and you might think, oh, well, legal case, does that mean it's only used for litigation, for example? That is not the case. Legal case is a term that's used within Docfinity, but its capability will be used for the 4 types of destruction holds that Leticia just went over. Okay, so this is a workflow in written form representation of that timeline that Leticia showed, and we'll go over it because I'll be able to plug in where your work in Docfinity will start. So number 1 here, this is when your department will be notified of a destruction hold. Immediately after that, number 2 will be you getting in contact with record management services to see if a new legal case within Docfinity needs to be created, or if one already exists, to give you that legal case ID. So number 3, these services, they may create a legal case, that special folder that I was talking about, and they will give you the legal case name, and you can think of it as the identifier of the legal case. This is not a secret, so you need to store it somewhere and write it down somewhere, because you will use it when you put documents on hold. Number 4 and 5 is the main work that the department custodians need to do, and that is searching using your department searches for all the documents that apply for this position hold, and then use Docfinity to place documents on hold. Number 5 happens at a later point, and this is when the requester just needs the documents, and your department will also be responsible of exporting the documents, and this will create a copy of the documents out of Docfinity into a zip file that then you can use to deliver the records. And then, as Leticia mentioned, if necessary, some requesters may also require you to send them the metadata for those files, and we'll go over how to do that as well. 6 and 7 are out of your control, but there might be cases where your department will be notified if the destruction hold needs to be lifted, and so you may have to contact records management services to have that legal case closed. And 7 here, records management services, is the only entity right now within UW that can close and release documents from hold. So next, I'm going to go and do a demonstration of all the UI to do step 4 and 5, which is the main parts that you will be responsible for. First demo will be to place the documents on hold. And for this, let us assume that the notice has been received by your department and you already contacted records management services to get the legal case created, and you have received the legal case ID. So you have that ID written out somewhere that you will use to place things on hold. So number 1, you will search for documents that you need to apply the hold on. And so you will use normally your department searches and use your regular prompts to narrow down what documents you need to put on hold. On the search results, this is where this new button will be enabled. And this is only for the record coordinators and record authorities of your department. Other staff will have this grayed out. And that's the button you click. A pop-up will be shown where you get to put the legal case ID from a list. And this is where care needs to be taken. We'll go over that, but you need to obviously put it on the right one. And I put number 4 here just to remind you that the results panel in Docfinity is paged. And so it may have more documents that are only shown on the first page and more on the second page. And just to remember that if you do have that case, you have to page through the results. And I'll go over a little shortcut in the demo as well. All right, so let's show this in action. And here I have logged into Docfinity with a test account here on the top right, the record authority test account that has the permissions as a record authority or coordinator. So in your workspace, as you start searching for documents to place on hold, you use the regular searching workspace that you've already used in the past. And you will also use your regular department search. For this demo, there's this fake one, you could say, for financial records and personnel records. In your department, you'll have your own specialized search that the EDM team created for you. So in this case, let's assume that to satisfy this hold, I'm going to have to put records both from financial records as well as personnel records on the same legal case. So I ran my search here. I didn't put anything on the filters here, so this is the totality of the financial records. You can see here there's 11 results. I'm going to first close the document viewer. And you'll see here's the button to place on hold is grayed out until I select some documents. So I'm going to maybe pick the first 3. And now the button will be enabled. And so in this case, if I press it, you'll get the pop-up. So the hold will be pressed on those 3 documents that I selected. So I'm going to pause here because this is probably one of the most important parts of this workflow is that you have to select the correct legal case. And here will be a full list of all the legal cases that Record Management Services has created. So there will be legal cases that for all departments that won't even apply to you necessarily. And this here is an example of the ID that you will be given by Records Management services. So you just need to select the correct one. There's this little arrow. If you click it, you'll get a little bit more explanation of what the legal case is, and Record Management Services will put some description in here that will help you recognize, yeah, this is the right one that I need to select. So you select the legal case, and then you click on place on legal hold. Docfinity will ask you to confirm if you're really sure, because remember that once you put records on hold, they are essentially indestructible forever in Docfinity until the hold is lifted. So in this, and you can click on this checkbox if you don't want this confirmation dialog to appear anymore. So I'm going to click on this button. Now those 3 documents have been successfully placed on hold. Now, nothing really changes on the search. You don't get to see that they are on hold anywhere on the search. In my next demo, I'll show a new search that exists where you can see what documents you've been putting on the hold. Now, as I mentioned on the slides, you have to take care if there's multiple pages. So in this case, there's only 1 page of results, but if it was multiple pages and you wanted to put them all on hold, let's say, even though you can click on this check mark outside of the range to select them all, this just selects the records on the current page. And so you can definitely put all of this on hold. I'm gonna cancel. But then you'll have to page to the next page, select them all on the second page, and do the same operation. I mentioned that there's a shortcut for that if you have a lot of results that spans multiple pages. There's an option that is hidden in this menu, that's this 3 bars menu. This menu is on all panels. If you click on this, there's like additional options that didn't fit on menus on here. And one of those options, you just scroll down, will be place all records on legal hold ... That will bring up the same pop-up, but this applies to all of the search results, the totality across all the pages of the search screen. So if I click here and I can select the hold, this will put the hold on all the records that are in my current search results. It's a shortcut for doing that. And you might prefer doing that method just so that you don't forget that if there's one other record in page 2, for example, that you don't miss it. So that's the demo for the financial records, but let's assume that for the same legal holds, you might also have personnel records. So I'm gonna click on this other search and search there. And these are completely different types of records. They have completely different metadata, but they may still be placed on hold for the same legal case. And let's suppose that this is for a specific employee. You may use your regular search to filter them down. Yeah, it's this person, this record, and let's assume this, I don't know exactly what scenario this would be, but let's assume that this also goes into the same, needs to go in the same legal case hold. And I'm also going to plate this one on the same legal case. Place on hold. Are you sure? Yes. So at this point, I have 3 from financial records and 1 personal record on hold. And let me go back to the slides. I think that's all that I wanted to show in terms of putting the records on hold. All right, so the next step would be, once you've completed your analysis of all the documents that need to be on hold for this particular legal case, there may come a time when you need to export them to deliver them to the requester. And this is done with a special search that we created for custodians and authorities called the legal hold search. You will have access to it, and it looks like this on the screen here. Once you select this search, you will have to select what legal case you want to find documents for. So you will select it here in the second dropdown. And then the third dropdown, which is also required, to narrow down what category or document type you want to search for. That are documents that are on that hold. So once you select that and you click search, you'll get a new search results, and this will display what documents that you have permissions to view are in this legal case that you selected here. This is a way for you to see just what have you put in there. But it's also the way for you to export the documents once you are done fulfilling the request. So to do that, you may be tempted to use this export button that I put here, and that will work. That will export the documents that you have selected in the search results. However, that's very troublesome when you have more than one page, because that will create multiple zip files, which is probably harder to deliver than a single zip file that has all of the records. In order to export them all in a single zip file, I'll point you back to that's hidden context menu here with the 3 lines. There will be an option in there to put all of the documents that are in the search results in the same export. That will put them in the same zip file. Number 3 here, I mentioned that in some cases, the third-party requester will also want to see the metadata of the files that you are delivering. And to do that, you will use this other menu item here, the export results to spreadsheet. There's a little incongruency with Docfinity where this button actually does export all of the pages, not just the ones that are selected. That's just a small incongruency with the software. So if you click this button, you will get a CSV file with all of the records of the whole search for you to download and deliver. Okay, so I will now go into the Docfinity to show you this in action. Okay, so we are back here in the search panel, and in this drop-down, you'll see there's a couple of extra search templates that you have as record custodians. And one of them is the legal hold search that I'm highlighted here. Once you select that, you have to populate the second drop-down, which is what legal case you want to see the records for. So I'll pick this one where I put the records just now. And then you get to select, okay, so from what category or document type you want to see them. Now, in this case, you will only get to see the document types that you have access to. So I am logged in, the account that I'm logged in can see financial record and personnel records, but also these other ones, which are no document of these other ones are on that hold. So I'm going to select all the document types from this category, and I'm just going to click search. Here you see, here are the 3 financial records that I just put on hold before, and the 1 personnel records that I did towards the end. This tool is meant both as a way for you to export things, as I showed, but also as a way to, as you are fulfilling the request, if you forgot what's already in there, or just want to confirm that you have everything, this is a way for you to get a full list of the documents that you have permissions for in one view. One common question that I have heard is, will I be able to see other departments' documents that have also put their documents on the same legal case hold? And that the answer is no. So this will, even though there might be documents from other departments in this same legal case, you will not be able to see them. You will only be able to see the documents that you have view permissions for that are within this legal case. All right, so now to do the export, as I said, you could select single documents and then click on, where's it, the export button. I highly recommend you not do that unless it's very few documents that you can just select them all and have them all fit in one export. The recommended way is to always use this option in the extra menu options, I'm going to call it, called, you scroll down here, export all documents, ... This will include all the documents that you have in your current search results, which may be any number of pages. So clicking in there will bring up this pop-up menu that dialog, where you have to select an export profile. This is a concept in Docfinity that just kind of has some settings of how the export is going to get created. We already have one that you have access to for export for legal holds. That's the description that we set up. You will only see this one for the most part, unless you're like a special custodian. It is recommended that you named your export job, maybe with your name, and you might want to put the legal case ID that you got. So you type that in. This is how this zip file will be named, and then you can click on export. So at this point, the request has been sent to Docfinity. This is an asynchronous operation because there might be just a lot of documents in the search results that need to be packaged in a zip file. Eventually, the server will send you an email when the export job is ready for download, and there will be like a link on how to get it. That link will take you to a panel that you might not have seen called the My Desktop panel, which I have highlighted here in the panels menu. And I click there. My Desktop has 2 tabs, and one of them just has messages that Docfinity has sent you. And you can see here, this is my message that Docfinity sent me, say, hey, your export is ready to download. To open it, you go to this second tab called the Export Queue. If I click there, this is from a previous demo, but this is the one from today. And you'll see here the zip file. I think the name was so long that it got truncated like that. But the export job has what you typed in on the export dialog. And then just click there, and Docfinity will download the zip file. So I can't show it right now because I'm only sharing my browser, but if you were to open the zip file, you'll see folders with all of the documents that were exported. This is the zip file that you can deliver then to the requester. And very important, after you have delivered it, delete it from your local drive. It is also recommended that you delete the export job. Here, when you click this delete button, but that will get deleted by the server anyway after the expiration date, which I believe is about 10 days after the export job was created. Okay, so that is the way that you can download copies of all the documents that are on the legal hold and to be able to deliver them. As I said, there might be cases where you're also required to export the metadata for these documents. I'm going to close down my desktop panel. Here in the search results, I said that there is this export results to spreadsheet. It is not necessary for you to click on things. This will export the whole thing, the whole set, and all of its pages. And if you click it, you'll just get this message saying, all right, we're trying to create the CSV for you. Come back later to my desktop panel to download it. Again, you will also get an email when the export is ready. And I'm going to go back to my desktop panel. You'll see there's a new message here. Your results are ready to download. Awesome. Go to export queue. Here it is. As you notice, there was no chance to type in anything like any special name, and the ID of the CSV, sorry, is named with this randomly generated GUID. So if I click it, you'll download it. You'll see here it's getting downloaded, which you can open in Excel if you want. But the most important thing is that you have to track that this CSV belongs to this zip file that you downloaded. So they cannot go hand by hand because this is the metadata for these files. So once you download it, you might want to rename it so that it matches the zip file so that you deliver both of them together to the requester. Okay, so now I'm going to go over some things about the search results that might be of interest. The first is that these search results are not sortable. So if I click on these titles, nothing happens, as you might be accustomed to from your department searches. And instead of clicking there, if you have a very long list and you're trying to make sense of what's in there, you might want to order by a column. And to do that, there is this 2 extra drop downs that I skipped when I was showing you the search panel here. And so, for example, you could say, oh, I want to sort by the employee reg ID, ascending or descending, and click on search, and that will apply that sorting on the results. In this case, there's only one, so that is sorted ascending. That may be useful if you're just trying to make sense of what's in here. The second thing that you might see is that this is a full columns of all of the metadata that exists between all the document types that are in the set of documents in the hold. So for example, in this case, I have three invoices and 1 personnel record, but it has all of the metadata, like the union of the metadata of those 2 record types. So, employee reg ID, obviously invoices doesn't even have an employee reg ID in their metadata. But because this one that's included does have it, is included as a column. So the fact that there is no value here may mean that the document type doesn't even have this field in it at all, like in this case. Or it may mean that it has it, but it is not populated. It's just something to keep in mind. Anyway, and that's why this search might be very long horizontally, because it has a union of all the metadata fields across all the documents types that are included. All right. So that is the step where you are exporting and delivering the results to whoever the requester is. Now, I'm gonna go back to the presentation to go over some interesting cases and common questions about holds. The first one is, well, who can release this hold? And to remind you, only the Records Management Services Office has permissions to release documents from hold. That means that if you place a hold incorrectly, when you had that pop-up, there's a whole list of all the holds. You click on the wrong one, you will have to contact Records Management Services to correct it, and they will be able to release the documents that you put wrong from that hold, so that you can then place them on the correct hold. Other questions that are common is, can the same document be on multiple legal cases at the same time? And the answer to that is yes. So you can put the same document on a hold on multiple legal cases. And this document obviously will be blocked from this position until the last legal case is released from it. Then it will be, again, eligible to be disposed. And the last question has to do with deletes, which I'm going to show you in live here. And this is a question that you might have. What happens if I attempt to delete a document that is on hold? So let's show that here. I'm going to go back to my financial records. And let's say this first record here, I don't remember if that's the one that I placed. Let's suppose that I'm placing it on hold right there. And some of you as record authorities might have delete permissions on your documents. And so what happens if I try to delete this? You say, hey, you want to delete this document? And you say, yeah, I guess so, go. And now the total results are down to 10. And you might be wondering, what's up with this, Federico? You just told me that Docfinity is supposed to block me from destroying things. And this is where I'll explain a concept in Docfinity, which is a soft deletes. So Docfinity has a concept of a soft delete, which is when you delete documents from the UI here. And then there's a concept of purging, which is what happens when a document is disposed. And so the document still exists. Actually, let me put this last one on do the same thing so that we see it on the other search. Oh, sorry, let's put this on hold. And then let's delete this one as well. I'm down to 9. So when I'm deleting things, what's really happening in Docfinity is the document is still there. It's still on the repository. It will be pursed automatically in a certain period. I believe the current configure is 30 days. If 30 days something has been deleted, it will just be auto-pursed unless it's on a hold. If it's on a hold, it will never be purged. It's protected, I guess, from purging. But as long as the document is on hold, even though it's deleted, it still needs to be delivered to the requester to fulfill that either pull record request or litigation. So to show that, I'm going to go back to the legal hold search, the one that we just saw. Let me do this, and so there should be one more. Now there's 4 invoices, but one of them is deleted. I'm assuming it's this last one. So I'm going to double click on it to open the document viewer, and you'll see how in here in the panel it says deleted. This special search for custodians you can still see a deleted document, even though the rest of your staff, for the rest of your staff's perspective, this document is gone. It will not be shown either on regular searches or regular views, but it's still part of the legal case hold, and it will no longer be auto-purged forever until the hold is lifted. So let me open this just to show that you can still see the metadata of the document. And you look at the history, you see that the document has been deleted. It's just in the soft delete state until purging happens. So to complete the scenario, once the legal case is complete, you will contact Records Management Services. They will close down the legal case. All the documents holds will be lifted. Now this deleted document will now be auto-purged by Docfinity after some time. And yeah, anyway, so that is a common question about how do holds relate to deletes. All right. And this screenshot I leave here on the recording as a reference of all the buttons that I showed that are relevant. And so the place legal hold, this is the main way, or one of the main ways to put documents on hold. This is used if you have a few documents on your search results. And otherwise, you're recommended to use this place all records on legal hold to put them, if there's many pages, you can just put them all in one shot. And then to export, you use this other button. This one is to export the metadata. And then this one down here is to export all the documents that are on a particular legal case. All right, so hopefully that gives you all the information in terms of how to handle this type of destruction holds. And that arrives at the end of our presentation here. And I would encourage, if you have any questions or need some more information, please contact either the Records Management Services or the EDM team. Thank you.